Hello and welcome back to WTFMCP. I'm your host, Jay Shalansky, and after a brief hiatus, I'm thrilled to say we're back. I'm very excited about this. If this is your first video, this is a beginner's guide to MCP, and really just talking to people who are just getting started. I'm sure some of you old hats will gain something from this, I hope, but really we're talking to new players who are just starting. Our videos before this one were really covering kind of keywords, nomenclature, how to play MCP, that sort of a thing. And starting today, we're going to be diving into the affiliations and just really covering some analysis and strategies and tips to help you as a new player build an effective team. I think a lot of times when we start as a new player, especially with MCP, that it's a more casual, fun game. And I think that's wonderful and great. And that's why I play. But what I've heard a lot from players is, they build some crazy team, they go off to their local store or a tournament, and they ended up getting beat, and they just felt like, why didn't that work? And I think that's a feels bad. So even if we're a casual, just light player, but we're going to go to a store or a tournament, or we're going to play with friends and we want to win some games, hopefully I can provide some guidance in regards to that. So like and subscribe so that you can stay tuned to all the other affiliations we're going to cover. Today, as you can see, we're going to cover Avengers. Avengers is my favorite. I've been trying a lot of new affiliations lately, but Avengers is kind of my go-to and the one I fall back on when I just want to play and just kind of press W, right? They don't have a lot of tricks that like play off of the characters. And so it's just kind of they do what they do. But because they have an extensive roster, because of that, they're very versatile. So it's very adaptable to your play style. So depending on how you play, if you want to throw a big kaiju in the middle of the field with a Hulk, like you can do that. If you want to be a little bit more thought out and procedural around how you play, you can do that too. So all of those are very options in there, and I really really love Avengers. And so first thing we're going to talk about is leaders. So whenever you run an affiliation, you have a leader that basically has a superpower that impacts your whole team. And so with Avengers, they have four. We're going to cover the first two aren't ones that are typically run very often, but are ones that you can run. And then the second two that we're cover are kind of the main leaders that I think are the most successful. So first off, we're going to talk about Sam Wilson, Captain America. So his leadership ability, all new, all different. It triggers when an allied character is dazed or KO'd. So when somebody puts down one of your characters, and it enables another allied character to remove a damage, a special condition, and then to advance short. So basically, hey, if somebody's getting KO'd or dazed, then you can have another character move up and maybe get in or get away, or heal or remove a special condition. So it's a very cool leadership ability. And like a lot of times from a strategy standpoint, we call this going wide. So you want to have like a lot of lower threat characters on your roster. So you're going to have probably 5 to 6 characters running, in like a 20 threat game or an 18 threat game. And that's going to give you, when somebody gets dazed or KO'd, that's going to happen more often, then you're going to get something out of that. So very cool. Sam Wilson, Captain America. Next, I'm going to cover is Hulkbuster, not used very often for Avengers. And basically, Hulkbuster's leadership ability is called Hulkbusters, and it reduces the damage suffered from a collision by 1. Again, it's fine, but there's tactics cards that kind of cover that. So it's a super situational ability. It's not used very often, and so not something I would recommend to new players. Next one is Captain America, Steve Rogers. His ability, A Day Like Any Other, reduces the power cost of the first superpower used by each allied character each turn by 1 to a minimum of 1. So 2 things to really point out there. allied character, so it is not a affiliated character. So any character on your roster, the first time they use a superpower during their turn, they can reduce it by one. This is a phenomenal ability, and I honestly, he's probably the leader I used the most. So it really helps with your power economy. You can do a lot more stuff as a single character. Like we're going to talk about Hulk a little bit later, but like his gamma leap gets reduced, throws gets reduced. Like a lot of things get reduced from a power perspective. So you're going to be able to do a lot more with your other characters and Cap, which is amazing. So the next one we're going to talk about is Captain America: First Avenger. This is the new one that came out recently with the new core set. And his ability is Earth's Mightiest Hero. So it allows an allied character, again, allied, when making an attack and rolling at least one hit, they can spend a power and change one of their dice to any result. Why that's important? Because you have a lot of characters like Thor that do things off of wilds, right? So as long as you roll a hit, you can change for a power, change one of your other dice to a wild, and get your trigger off of your attack, which is just phenomenal. So you can almost guarantee that you're going to get a throw, right? And that's real dangerous with like someone like Thor. It just and it gives you your offensive consistency as well. And so just a really great leadership. And again, the two Steve Rogers, First Avenger, and Captain America are both very good leaders, and it's going to be situational how you're playing the game. So next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to go through most frequently included characters in successful rosters for the Avengers. And first one is Hulk. I can't tell you I generally would use him with the Captain America that lets you reduce superpowers by one power, the pay for that. He's best with him. He's a huge damage output, very durable. He can't be ignored when put on the table. And he can just really absorb a ton of damage. And also, he really takes your focus from your opponent and places it onto the Hulk. So really great ad here. Expensive from a threat perspective, but definitely worth it. Your next one is Iron Man, the original Tony Stark Iron Man. He's durable. He's a ranged attacker. He can provide pretty consistent damage output, and he can control crises because what he can do is push. So if you use him with First Avenger, Steve, that can change a die. So you're going to get that wild, and you're going to be able to push people off of objectives, which is a huge thing. Your next option, newer character, Shang-Chi. Very good at close combat. He excels in melee engagements. He has these high bursts of damage. Very good. His tactics cards are phenomenal. And he can handle a lot of like threats up close. So he'll get in like the Hulk, do some distraction while your longer range characters can kind of do what they do best. And the next one within affiliation is Thor. So Thor, he's had some updates from his original incarnation from the first box, but he just is so powerful. And if you use him with First Avenger, Steve, I mean, he can do so many throws. It's wild. And I think his area attack, his God of Thunder, is a highly underused attack. And so very versatile, can control the battlefield, can do a lot of throws, a lot of damage. Very good. So the next one, and these are going to be what we call splash characters, which are characters that are off affiliation that really can go in any affiliation, but are very good in these ones. And first one is Baron Zemo. He's a mobile attacker. He's got strong offensive capabilities, and he does a reroll with his strategic genius. So anyone within two may reroll one die of their attack. So attack or defensive roll. So he has a lot of really cool features and support that fits in any top performing list. The next one we're going to cover is Wong. Again, another very popular character that gets put into a lot of lists. He supports through healing and power generation. So, for those that don't know, he can give power to other characters and he can also heal other characters. So, very, very good support character for, not just Avengers, but for any affiliation list. Next thing we're going to talk about is team tactic cards. So Avengers is a very interesting affiliation that relies a lot on character cards. And so really the tactics cards for recommendations here, two of these are going to be your ones that you probably want to staple to most any list. One, Brace for Impact. So again, when we went back to Hulkbuster and why he's not really effective as a leader is because you have Brace for Impact, which allows you to spend one power and you don't suffer damage from collisions. And then, there's other cards like Indomitable that do a very similar thing. So you don't need that Hulkbuster leadership. So first one, Brace for Impact, highly recommend with this list because you'll be able to throw people around. They won't be able to do the same to you. Next one is Recalibration Matrix. You can force both players to re-roll their attacks and defense dice, and you're going to alter potentially for good or bad. It's a gamble, but it's one of those cards that I think I use every game. So highly recommend that. And then finally for Avengers is Avengers Assemble. It's got the name right in there, Avengers right in there, and you're going to spend one when you play this. Any character could play it. Avengers affiliated character could play it on their turn, and when they do, every character that spends one gets to advance small. So you're automatically moving a good portion of your team with a small move, and just a great card. So many different times that you can use this card, so highly recommend. All right, so next we're going to just talk about overall building an effective Avengers squad. So make sure you're choosing a leader that is going to fit what you want to do. So if you have like Hulk and a lot of superpower based things that you want to do on the battlefield, I would use Captain America Steve Rogers and reduce all those superpowers. If it's more like you need to get the triggers off of regular attacks like Thor's throw, stuff like that, then you want to use, First Avenger Steve. Really think about your leadership synergy and how that's going to play into your playstyle. You want to make sure that you're balanced with your characters. And so not only from a threat level, but also what they do. So from a threat level, ideally you want to have more threes than anything else. So a lot of threes, a couple fours, a 5 and 1 5 1 6, something like that, and then a couple twos if you can get them in there. That's how you're going to balance out Avengers. And then also you want a good mix between ranged and brawlers. So you want to make sure that you can hold back objectives and push people off of front ones, basically, or mid-range objectives. So next, we're going to kind of cover some crisis cards. So choosing appropriate crisis cards definitely helps with a lot of affiliations, but Avengers, they're so versatile that really you could select anyone's. From a secure, I think one of the better ones for Avengers is Infinity Formula. So it offers some power generation, and so you're going to, with a lot of Avengers lists, there's a lot of power intensive abilities, so you're going to want to be able to generate some more power. And then the other one for extracts is you're probably going to want Fear Grip's World as Worthy Terrorize or Hammers, and so that provides additional attack dice. So and characters can have as many hammers as they can get. So you could potentially have a Hulk that has 2 hammers turn 1. So if you get the roll off on a hammers, Hulk with Avengers Assemble can grab your hammers objective and then one of the side ones within turn 1 because he gets 3 power. So that's a great, if you're running Hulk, hammers is one of the perfect extract cards for you. So yeah, so that's it for today and our Avengers recap. So thanks for joining us. Listen, if you like these videos and you want to follow along, again, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, and feel free to leave some comments and questions, and maybe I can get to them in a next video. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.